Hello guys, I'm back from another video and today we're talking about what if Deku was the only boy with a quote-unquote quirk. So, in the last video we talked about when it's finally time for the sports festival, everybody was completely excited. But for Izuku, because he was a boy, well, he couldn't participate, so he was put in the, I guess you can say watching room with the rest of the teachers, so he can watch the sports festival with the rest of the, teachers. He was mostly talking with some of the teachers, except for, for obvious reasons, President Mike, Midnight, and finally, Aizawa, aka Eraserhead, because they were technically the judges for the, sports festival itself. So, after a while of basically talking to them, he would notice that Archer was there. After basically getting out of there to basically, confront him, apparently Archer saw him and basically, came to confront him as well. So, he would basically explain that the reason why he's basically here is because he's told to, or at least, gotten a job, in this case to assassinate Endeavor. Apparently, this person who asked him to, assassinate her was a girl by the name of Dabi. So, after saying that, they would start getting ready into a fighting stance because Izuku wants to save, some of the heroes, even though some of them can be a bit, you know, can be a little bit of a bitch. Let's just say that. So, both of them would start to fight, but when he's about to kill him, aka Izuku about to, kill, Archer, he was, how do I say this? Distracted, as Archer would basically disappear, saying that he's gonna come back for him, but now he's gonna be going towards, Endeavor to basically assassinate her. So after looking back, he would look and see Kendo, and she wanted to ask Izuku how did she do in the, in one of the events, aka the, cavalry battle. He didn't saw it, so he would basically say that it was actually pretty good. So, after explaining all of this to some of the other teachers, well, All Might would basically, decide to basically tell Endeavor about this. So, after that, well, when it's finally time for the one-on-one battles, well, and when the one-on-one battles were finally finished, being, Bakugo basically becoming the winner, well, when Endeavor came to basically tell his speech, or her speech, because remember, she's a girl in this one, Archer would basically get ready, firing his, getting ready to fire his Noble Phantasm. Erendite. Not Erendite, I meant, Feynot. But before he can, fire it, Endeavor was notified by, All Might about this, as she would basically dodge out of the way, getting ready to fight, Archer. But when she was about to get shot by, Feynot's arrow, well, Izuku basically came in and basically saved her. So, after the media saw this, well, and also saw, or at least heard, that this, assailant was actually a boy, well, let's just say they were raving now. Thinking that, how the hell is a boy able to use a quirk? But he would explain that it's not actually a quirk, which it's even more concerning for them. So, after Izuku arrived, he would basically start fighting him. But, during the fight, he would basically get help from, Ida, as she would activate her command seal to give him more power. And when he did get that power, he would defeat Archer by using his, boosted version of his, Noble Phantasm. In this case, Kairoid Konak. Wait for a sec. So, after using Kairoid Konak on, Archer, he would basically say that they're going to, interrogate them, or interrogate him in this case. But, he would basically say that, unlike him, he's loyal to her. And so he would basically commit suicide by basically, shooting himself with his, poisoned, crossbow or hidden crossbow. After doing that, everybody was horrified, including Endeavor. But after, that whole fight, he was basically a bit tired and took off his, mask, which every girl that didn't, met him for the first time or ever seen his face, well, they would start to blush. Including Endeavor, because after her, husband, quote-unquote, died, even though it was her fault, well, she really needs to get a boyfriend by now. So after seeing Izuku, let's just say... Actually, I'm not going to say it. So yeah, so after that day, well, let's just say the news, after, hearing about these people, or in this case, these boys with these weird powers, well, it sort of, got noticed by the Hero Commission. I didn't really see that in the last episode because I was a bit tired at the time. So, yeah, let's just say the Hero Commission are trying to find a way to basically get into, Izuku's life right now. And yeah, it's going to be the focus of this episode right now. So yeah, this is basically what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, after, that event in the, sports festival, let's just say the media has been going crazy ever since they found out about Izuku and the rest of the, representatives of the, other classes. Like, for example, Archer in this case. Because after Izuku killed him, well, let's just say, every single person there in Japan, and probably the entire world by now, well, knows about people, or in this case, boys, with these weird powers. So, and let's just say the Hero Commission was pretty interested in him. So, let's go back to Izuku. Izuku is currently there, basically wondering what is going to happen to him, as some of the teachers were basically worried about him. So one of them specifically, Aizawa would basically, go to his room, aka, Ida's room, as she would see Izuku basically there worrying, as, Ida would basically try and calm him down. As Ida would basically say this, Izuku, you don't really need to worry. I mean, nobody ever saw anything about, you, as Izuku would say this. Oh yeah? Then look, as he would basically grab her phone, as he would just go into social media and see all the newest headlines. And most of these headlines were mostly about a boy with blue slash, greenish hair having, a quote-unquote quirk, even though it's not technically a quirk, but it's still online. Oh boy, let's just say, well, she was a bit worried, and including, wait for a second, including, Aizawa, as Aizawa would say this, Izuku, as Izuku would look over, as he would see Aizawa, as Izuku would say this, Miss Aizawa, what are you doing here? As she would say this, well, it seems that our little secret, aka you, have been leaked. And not only that, it seems like the Hero Commission wants to talk to you. As Izuku would basically gulp, as he would say this, you mean that Hero Commission? As she would say this, yes. Do you know them by any chance? As he would say this, well, back before I actually came here and, got my sanity back, well, we go into a little flashback. Where back when he was still a berserker, a complete berserker with madness enhancement, but by that, well, he was completely, destroying the, bit of parts of, the Hero Commission's office for, how do I say this? For getting information about the Hero Commission and giving it towards, well, a certain all-for-one person. And the reason why he was being told by this, or at least told to basically get all of this stuff, is because, being a mercenary, technically. So, after getting all the information about, some of the Hero Commission's, actions, he would basically leave, but he would basically be attacked by some heroes. Nobody knows that it's actually a boy, thanks to the, cloak that he's wearing, but he would basically kill all of them, as everybody would think that this girl, or this villain, is quite powerful. But unfortunately, he left, and yeah, after Izuku remembered that, well, he would sort of become, a bit scared after knowing that, as one of them would say this, specifically, wait for a second, as Aizawa would say this, I see, so you used to work for them, and you sort of gone to a mission where you're, as Izuku would say this, yes, and I'm quite afraid if they recognize me, they would burn me at the stake or something. As she would say this, probably not. As Izuku would say this, wait, what? As she would say this, well, they sort of like power, and because of you, or more specifically because of your potential, they'll definitely want you to stay alive. I definitely want to use you as a damn sperm bank. As Izuku would hear that, as he would start to feel his loins becoming a bit shorter. As Izuku would start to, cover his loins, as he would say this. What do you mean by sperm bank? As she would say this. Well, because of your quirk, or at least, power, they will definitely think that it's a quirk and probably use you to make more quirk users. In this case, boys. As Izuku would basically become a little bit afraid. As one of them, or more specifically, a mysterious voice, and that voice was Jack. As Jack would basically start laughing on the countertop of the, I guess you can say dining part of the room, where, aka the dorm of like, Ida and, Izuku, as he would start to laugh a lot, as he would say this. Well, that is true. I mean, you can, when, actually, let me explain it like this. Wait for a sec. As he would say this. So, it's basically like this. If you were to, I don't know, maybe like impregnate a few girls, they can certainly get, the same powers as us. And maybe even other heroic spirits. As Izuku would think in his mind, well, he's about to get fucked, literally and figuratively. As, Ida, after hearing this, she would say, so they're going to do that to Izuku? As, wait for a second, god dang it, something happened. As Aizawa would say this, definitely. It's usually the hero commission's ideas that scare me. As Izuku would start dreading, as he would say this, I'm doomed, I'm fucking doomed. As, Ida would try to comfort him. As Ida would say this, is there a way to at least stop them from doing that? As, Aizawa would say this, no can do. Or at least I think so. And if there is, then, I don't really know. As Izuku would start crying, saying, somebody help me. Yeah, let's just say Izuku's basically crying out for help. So yeah, after knowing of this, well, let's just say everybody is basically wondering, basically outside, mostly, some of the girls in, some of the students of Class 1A and Class 1B, well, they're wondering, I wonder how much he's, good in the bed. I wonder how much he's good in bed. I mean, just imagine them doing that. Including Bakugo. Except for, obviously except, Izumi, because remember, she's basically, Izuku's sister. So, yeah. So, as everybody's hearing this, well, they would hear behind them somebody's voice. Hey, kids, maybe get out of there. Besides, I want to talk to this Izuku kid or whatever. As, when they looked behind them, they would see a girl with... Wait for a second. They would see a girl with long blonde hair and nosebly red wings. As she would say this. So this is the room of the famous Izuku Midoriya. And a person, or in this case a boy, with a quirk, or at least a quirk-like power. So can you girls get out there, or I'll just have to tell somebody to, I don't know, maybe give you a restraining order. As every single girl there, well, see, the girls of Class 1A and Class 1B, I mean, technically all of them are boys, actually not boys, I meant, all of them are basically girls, well, they would basically, move away, as this girl with long blonde hair would basically move and go inside of the room. And right beside her were a few people, mostly other girls, and they seem to be also heroes, I guess. They're more like, underground heroes. So, they would basically open the door as they would see a cowering Izuku, basically wondering if he's about to get his balls sucked out of him or his soul. Is it like he's imagining that his balls are going to be turned into shrimp? I'm having so much fun making this video. Oh, god damn it. And then would also see, Ida basically there trying to comfort him, as when, wait for a second, god damn it, When Aizawa looked behind her, she would see Hawks, as she would say this, Hawks, what are you doing here? As she would say this. Well, I'm here to see this Izuku kid. Hey, girls, as she would basically look towards, the two other members of the Hero Commission, mostly like underground heroes, as she would say this. Better get out of here so I can talk to the kid. As both of them would basically get out, and they would basically stand in front of the door. Or in this case, the outside of the door. So they would basically stand outside of, Izuku and Ida's room, as she would basically go closer to Izuku, as Izuku would notice her after, basically, after he stopped worrying, as Izuku would basically step back a little bit. As Izuku would say this, hello, what's your, as she would say this, oh, don't worry, I'm not here to, suck all of your juices, I guess you can say. I'm just here because I wanted to talk to you. As Izuku would say this, mind telling me your, as she would say this, the name's Hawks. I'm the let me just check, what, I'm Hawks, and I'm the number 3 hero of the, in the entire world, and also technically in Japan as well. As Izuku would look at her, as she would say this, so, you must be Izuku Midoriya. You're absolutely kind of adorable. As she would basically grab Izuku's chin, as when, Ida saw this, she would start to get a little bit jealous, as she would basically, push her hand away, as she would say this, hey, don't touch him! As when she looks back, she would see Ida, as she would say this, oh, mind telling me your name? As she would say this, I'm Ida, Tenya Ida, and I'm Izuku's master. As she would basically, look at her in surprise, as she would say this, oh, I didn't know that you're submissive type, Izuku. As Izuku would start blushing, as he would say this, not in that way, as Ida would basically look back, as she would basically start blushing, as she would say this, yeah, it's more like a servant, and, she would basically start to stutter, as, well, Jack would basically appear. As when, wait for a second, as when Hawks saw this, Hawks would basically get ready to basically fight this person. And Jack would basically fully materialize, as he would say this. Well, it's not technically a master and servant relationship, but, as when, Hawks would basically look at him, she would say, who the hell are you? As she would basically, grab her feather, as it would turns into, I guess you can see it like a sword, or at least she would hold it like a sword. As, well, Jack would say this, well, I'm one of Izuku's spirits, or heroic spirits that he's, fused with. You may call me Jack. Jack the Ripper. As she would basically, yelp in surprise, as she would say this. You mean that Jack the Ripper? As in the most famous serial killer in all of London? As he would say this. Indeed. I'm pretty well known, and perhaps pretty feared. So, I'm one of his heroic spirits that he's fused with. And, let's just say, it's not a quirk, it's power. As she would say this. Really. As she would, Jack would basically explain the whole deal with, heroic spirits and, the whole nature of, Izuku being fused with a heroic spirit, blah, blah, blah. Basically, similar to, the first episode. Not really first, but more I can't remember which episode which I explained the whole, the whole nature of, Izuku being a, I guess you can say demi-servant, I guess. So, just go to that episode and it would be basically explain the whole thing. So, after explaining it, she would say this. What? So you're saying that that kid was turned into this? As he would say this. Yeah, pretty much. And trust me, Mash Kira can be a bitch sometimes. And that's the reason why we can, manifest. But when he finally gone free from, that bitch, well, we're sort of able to manifest now. Thanks to the help of Miss Ida over there, which she is now Izuku's new master. As she would basically look at her, as she would say this. What? As she would say this, back to, Jack. So why her exactly? As he would say this. Well, because of his, because of her, sufficient, magic circuits, it makes sense that it would be her instead. Because the other option would be the pervy girl over there with the grape hair. As she would say this. I see. So, as he would say this, oh yeah, he also needs mana to basically survive. In this case, mostly her, bodily fluids, like for example, saliva, blood, but Izuku prefers blood instead of the other things, let's just say that. She would basically look back at, Izuku and, Ida, as she would say this, I see. Thank you for the information, Mr. As he would say this, just call me Jack. As he would basically disappear. As she would basically look back at Izuku and also Ida once again, as she would say this. That's quite the information. As Izuku would say this. Yeah, so what do you want? As she would say this. Well, I want to tell all of you, or more specifically you, Izuku in this case, and also, I guess, Ida, for you to go and visit the Hero Commission's office, because they want to have a talk with you. And also, the media also wants to talk with you, more like, have an interview with you. Let's just say that. So, Izuku would basically stand up as he would say this. So, are they not going to, as she would say this, are they not going to what? As Izuku would start to blush a little bit as he would say this. Actually, never mind. As she would say this. Anyway, maybe bring in some companions, like for example, maybe like Miss Chivalry Hair over there. As she would basically point at, Aizawa. As Aizawa would look at her with, the red eyes. As she would basically cancel out her quirk, even though that doesn't technically work like that. Or at least in my opinion. I mean, she definitely can't, move her wings anymore, but I don't really know how that works, but you basically get it. So, after looking at her like that, as she would say this, and also maybe bring in All Might. Maybe she can be, a great help for you. Besides, I heard that she's actually good friends with you. So, after telling Izuku about this, well, she would basically start to leave. As when she leaves, she would basically bring her, fellow, hero commission, friends, I guess you can say, as the other students would basically look at Izuku and also, Ida. So, after that day, well, let's just say this. So, Ida and Izuku have been, wearing something nice so they can, meet up with the, Hero Commission's office and also have an interview with, the media, unfortunately. And not only that, the whole, UA Sports Festival, including the stuff about, Izuku and also Archer were also recorded into the, into some of the news. Not only this, the League of Villains also found out about this, so let's just say the League of Villains were pretty interested in him. Including a certain, all for one girl. Yeah, let's just say that. So, yeah. So, after that, let's go back to Izuku and, Ida. So, Izuku and Ida would basically start to, go towards the, Hero Commission's office while wearing, not really wearing, more like riding on a, limousine so they can, not get noticed by anyone. Even though the limousine was pretty obvious. It's not really a limousine, it's more like, one of those, like, armored trucks, I guess you can say. Like the ones that you'd see, like, the president basically, riding on, or riding in. So, yeah. So, after they arrived at the, location where the Hero Commission is, they would basically go into a room with, Izuku, Ida, Aizawa, and finally, All Might there. So, when they made it there, they would see a council. Not really a council, but more like a, a few people there. Mostly high-ranking figures of, Quirk Society or Hero Society. So, they would basically look at Izuku as one of them would say this. And it seems to be the leader. Or should I say the president of this, Hero Commission. So, you must be Izuku Midoriya, the boy with the quirk. As Izuku would say this. First of all, it's not a quirk. As she would basically look at him, as she would say this. What do you mean it's not a quirk? As All Might would say this. It's not a quirk per se, but it's more like a power. After saying this, she would basically, look at her as she would say this. What do you mean by this, All Might? Said another girl with, how do I say this? Let's just say she has, like, large horns and things of that sort. As, one person would basically step up, being, Aizawa, as she would say this. Yeah, it wasn't a quirk. I even used my, quirk on her, and not her, I meant him, and it really didn't work. As one of them would say this, again, specifically, I guess you can say a council member. I meant council member, God's sake. Uh, this council member would say this. I see. So please explain, Mr. Midoriya. As Izuku would basically start to explain. Or more specifically, Jack. Jack would basically manifest and also, Kukulane. Except for, Lancelot, because Lancelot is currently being being a nuisance, let's just say that. He's currently, raving to himself, basically angry. So, yeah. So, after, Jack and also Kukulin explained the whole, heroic spirit business and also the, mercenary group that he used to work with, or more like, forced to work with, well, one of the Hero Commission members would say this. I see. So you were forced into this. As you would say this. Yeah. After I tried to commit suicide, I was teleported away and forced to become their servant. But now I'm currently the servant of, Tenya Ida. As Ida would say this. Yeah. He decides for me to become, his servant. And it makes sense. After all, I'm the only one with significant, mana reserves. As one of them would say this. I see. So, are you able to pass down your powers to any of your children, perhaps? As Izuku would basically start to blush a little bit, as he would think in his mind, God damn it, I knew that was about to happen. As, Jack would basically reappear, as he would say this. Yes, he is definitely able to, pass down his powers to his children, and maybe even other heroic spirits can, can gain bodies of these children. Or maybe, as you would start to think even more, as he would say this, or maybe he can basically mix, quirks and magic and create even more powerful abilities. As you would start rambling and rambling a bit more, as the Hero Commission members were, kind of interested in it. As Izuku would basically, say this to, Jack, can you please stop it? As Jack would say this. Oh, right. Anyway, I should be leaving. As he would basically disappear. As one of the council members, specifically, I guess you can say the president, would say this. How about this, Izuku Midoriya? How about you become a hero? But, because you're a boy, I can definitely see people trying to get you, for obvious reasons. As Izuku would say this, what do you mean? As she would say this, well, after hearing about that information, well, I can definitely see them definitely trying to... As she would start pointing at his lower regions. As Izuku would basically start becoming, a bit sweaty. As he would start to sweat even more, as he would start to think about it, as, Ida would try to calm him down. So, as the leader of the, Hero Commission would say this. Alright, Izuku Midoriya. And also your friends, I guess you can say, or your companions, should probably leave. After all, we don't want this information basically leaking out towards the, other, villain factions or villainous groups. And including that Mash Kirillite girl that you keep talking about, as you would say this. Yeah, you should definitely watch out for her. She definitely has some tricks, including that damn, as you would start to remember, that damn controller, that damn helmet that basically controlled them all these years. Not really years, more like a few weeks or months. Actually, yeah, months. So, yeah. So, after they left, they would basically go back to UA, as, after announcing all of this to, some of the students of UA, and only the students of UA, and also some, the teachers that were told of this, well, they would basically start to worry about, Izuku's well-being. Mostly because girls are definitely trying to, get into his pants. Because if they were to get into his pants and, become pregnant with this child, well, let's just say that, the repercussions, all these children basically walking around this world, well, they can spell trouble instantly, because if these children were to, like, for say, go into the path of villainy, they would be trouble instantly, because, they're not technically quirks, and if they were to mix with quirks, well, that would be catastrophic. So yeah, after thinking about this, Principal Nezu would basically think of this. She would decide to make Izuku, I guess you could say, I guess you could say a pseudo hero, I guess. What do I mean by this? Well, he would basically be given his own, hero license. Pretty early, in fact. And for Ida, she would also be given a hero license pretty early. Because if they were to become heroes, they would be pretty, good at that, I guess you can say. And not only that, they can also be allowed to go to UA as, I guess you could say, kind of students, kind of heroes, I guess. So, thankfully, they do know about that. Well, except for the whole, getting into his pants thing. So, they don't really know how to deal with this, so they'll just have to make Izuku homeschooled, I guess you could say. So, yeah. So, and also, after the whole, world knows about Izuku and, the whole, like, boys technically having quirk thing, or at least Izuku specifically having a quote-unquote quirk, well, let's just say everybody was a bit, wondering about this kid. And some of the girls that were pretty much, power-hungry, including, a certain girl by the name of not All Might, I meant, All For One, well, they're trying to get into his pants. Like, instantly. They're trying to get into his pants. Like, there's no way stopping him. And after, Mash, after getting that information, well, she wants to bring Izuku back and maybe even turn him back into, into a regular old berserker. Maybe. Or maybe even kill him. So yeah, let's just say Izuku is definitely going to have some, a lot of trouble. And not even a lot, not really a lot, more like a lot of trouble. So yeah, Izuku is definitely going to get, let's just say his pants is about to be set on fire. Let's just say that. So yeah, I'm going to be leaving this, episode off here because, oh boy, next episode is definitely going to be extra crazy, let's just say that. So yeah, this is going to be the end of this episode. And so, I hope you liked the video, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!